It's Jay. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar.
Start your weekend off with the Tulsa Oilers at the Mvskoke Center this Friday. Come cheer on the Oilers as they face off against the Allen American. Puck drops at 7:05 p.m. Friday evening. Buy tickets today by phone or text 918-632-7825 or online TulsaOilers.com. Tulsa Oilers Hockey. Fun for the entire family. That's Tulsa Oilers Hockey this Friday evening at the Mvskoke Center.
Okay, we're back here on Mvskoke Radio here on 1240 The Brew in beautiful, soggy downtown Omogie here today. It's not too bad, but something if you can divert and find something to do inside, it might be a good choice here today. Okay, we're going to be trying to get this piece moving, so hang on a second, and let's see. Linwood, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, we've got a terrible connection here, so maybe we'll have to make this a short one. But you are connected with an event involving horses and racing and things like that, Indian relay race?
Yes, that's correct.
Why don't you tell me about the event?
Well, the event is going to be held at the Osage County Fairgrounds. That is May 27th. Through May 31st in Pahupsca, Oklahoma. And it is the Indian Relay event. We have approximately 53 teams attending, 10 teams from Canada coming down.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. Well, now tell me about the race itself. What does this involve? It says relay race. What happens?
Well, it's a Native American sport. It actually was with our people approximately, they say, 400 to 200 years ago, and it was competitive sport among the Native Americans, mostly the Plains Indians. The Plains natives up north usually relayed horses, but which they participated in relay racing among each other. And this sport today is more competitive. It's a 3-horse relay. One horse makes one lap around the track with one rider. There's actually 4 team members, 1 rider, 2 back holders, and 1 mugger. And it involves 2 exchanges. They'll do 1 lap on the first horse and come in and exchange onto the second horse and make another complete lap and then come in for their final exchange on the third horse, which, will be their last horse. And, that's the Indian Relay event.
Why is this event so important in today's sports world?
Well, it's a very high. It's a high adrenaline sport, and it's very competitive. It's rated as one of the most dangerous sports in America today, the equine sport, and it's just grown over the past 20 years with publicity. These races have been going on in Indian country for years, and it's just getting the publicity today that it needs. And the prize money involved, like this race, there's $140,000 involved in the purse money. So it's a really competitive sport. Years ago, it was they used saddle horses, where it wasn't, as competitive as it is today. Today, they get off the track race horses from a lot of the bigger tracks in California, Kentucky, Arizona, and New Mexico. And, there's just a large amount of purse money involved in these races today.
It sounds like it's been growing in popularity. Joining me here in the studio is our reporter, Lady Henson, and she's got a couple questions she'd like to toss your way.
Okay, go ahead, Lady.
Important to bring the relay races to Oklahoma area?
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you on that.
Why is it important to bring these relay races to Oklahoma area?
Well, as many of you know, Oklahoma has, there's 39 tribes in Oklahoma, and they were placed in inventory back in the 1800s. And a lot of the tribes have lost their Indian culture, Native American culture, especially their horse culture. The Plains Indians, they hunted on horseback and, done a lot of their moving their camps and, their lodges. So, horse played a really important role with the Native Americans. And as far as this sport goes, we don't know of the sport ever happening years, like within the past 100 years in Oklahoma. But however, we did bring the sport down to Perkins, Oklahoma in 2017 and 18. And we're hoping that, more native tribes in Oklahoma get involved with the sport. That's the reason why we've been advertising this Indian relay and hoping that we could get some interest from the younger generation.
Is there any type of... Go ahead.
Excuse me?
Is there any type of different categories or divisions in these races?
Well, there's the Indian relay itself, and also the women's Indian relay. We also have a women's Indian relay that they'll be running on the final day of the event. Also, the maidens race is also a women's race. It just requires one lap around the track. I believe the track 7/8 of a mile. So that'd be just one lap for the ladies, and they'll race one time around, and they'll have qualifying heats the first 4 days, and the championship day would be on Memorial Day. Also, the Chiefs race that also is another scheduled race with the Indian Relay event, along with the Warriors race. The Warriors race is actually a race where the rider runs 50 yards and then he mounts onto the horse and makes one complete lap. And also the Chiefs race is also one lap around the track. Usually the Chief racers will have war bonnets on, and they'll do a 4-day qualifying heat for the championship. And the championship day, I think we are paying out about $95,000 for the purse money with all these events that are taking place. We also have a 45 and over Indian relay race, and that'll be on the final day on Memorial Day. And also we have a hide race. That's another a popular race in Indian country. Usually it's the horseback rider will start at the finish line and run down the track about 600 yards and pick up the rider with the hide and return back to the finish line. So that's a popular race also.
Now, Lynn, you mentioned a Chiefs race where the riders will actually be wearing war bonnets. There's been some controversy about people wearing war bonnets out of context. Now, will the proper respect be shown by these riders regarding the war bonnets?
Yeah, well, ceremonially and traditionally, the eagle feathers, out of respect, they're not used for this purpose. The war bonnets that are used are imitation war bonnets. They've been used with the races for I don't know how many years. I'm going to say at least 30 years, and that's been a popular race up north among the natives.
And, it brings to me visions of, I guess, physically fit young men wearing these war bonnets. But we've seen a lot of chiefs and what we call presidents and elected leadership of different tribes, kind of assuming the role of a chief, and they weren't exactly physically fit, shall we say. You got any of those guys there?
No. Well, I'll tell you what, these riders, they are physically fit. They train their horses. They're at least 125 pounds to 160 pounds, and they can leap onto the horse. I would say that it's one of the tougher sports, riding bareback. Even when they train their horses, they're training at least 6 horses a day. So if a horse is running, if they're training each horse to gallop 3 miles or 2 miles a day, that's 12 to 15 miles a day. These guys are running their horses. So you can imagine that, using their body muscles.
Right. Last time I was on a horse was about an hour or so long, and believe me, my body was telling me how much it hurt, and I was really singing the blues there on my little saddle sore.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's one of the it's become it's always been the thing for the Native Americans. They grew up. A lot of them grew up riding bareback, and that's all they had. They never had the saddle, so that was their lifestyle, riding a horse, with bareback and galloping and being able to jump off the horse and leap back on the horse.
I've got some experience riding bareback, and believe me, I know what they're talking about. You got to be one tough person to ride bareback.
I'll tell you what, there's a training program, where the rider keeps himself physically fit, just like any other sport out there. Maybe take, for instance, a rodeo sport, PBR. A lot of these guys train in a weight room, and they do some running on the road. This is actually what the Indian relay jockeys do. They train in the weight room, jump rope, run. They practice their exchanges, mounting on the horse. So there's a lot of physical work, physical exercise involved.
Sounds like the way a boxer would train an athlete like that, right?
Yes, that's correct. Not only that, but, being able to know their horses and their horses being able to, know the rider is the big thing.
Oh, yeah.
Not anybody can do this. A lot of the riders are grown up on horses, and, they've rode relay. I mean, you're talking about horses that are moving 35 to 45 miles an hour around the track, and not coming in on the exchange, they're still galloping, and they, just pull up at the last second and, dismount off the horse, and two steps are mounted onto the exchange horse already, and off they go.
I'm sure they're training year round. Is there a limited amount of races they do yearly?
Yeah, there's not been a limited amount due to COVID, but actually there's at least maybe 15 or 20 races during Indian relay season. The season normally runs from May to September, and they got a lot of the big races on the big track, like the Canterbury Park race, and with the Shakopee tribe in Minnesota, and also the Mvskoke tribe out in Washington. They also have a big race out there on a big track. So there, other than that, there's a lot of memorial runs in different reservations, county fairs. You got national championships in Blackfoot, Idaho, world championships in Sheridan, Wyoming. So there's quite a few races that are scheduled through Indian country and through the season, which runs, like I said, May through September.
All right, you're coming down to Oklahoma for a race in Mvskoke, right?
That's right.
Are there any other of these events here in Oklahoma?
No, we're hoping that some of the tribes there would take interest in being able to host a relay, and we're hoping to see teams develop there in Oklahoma among the Native Americans.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
It sure would. I understand there's 39 tribes in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, not all the tribes are actually known for a relationship with horses, but we all had to use them at one point. I tell you what, why don't you share the information about this upcoming event one more time, and we're gonna have to cut this short because our connections are so bad here today.
Okay, sure.
Okay, now when and where and who? You still with me there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now when is it happening?
The race is actually happening the end of May during Memorial Day weekend, May 27th to May 31st. Teams will run the first 4 days. Those will be qualifying heat, and the championship will be on Memorial Day.
Okay, and where will it be taking place?
At the Osage County Fairgrounds in Mvskoke, Oklahoma. The teams will actually start arriving at least a week before.
Okay, is there any rivalry between the tribal teams that show up?
It's not as it was back in the day. There's a lot of good sportsmanship, a lot of good support. Everybody knows that they're in a competitive field with their animals, and they support one another, and they try to keep it as safe and as clean as they can.
Nobody counting coup on each other.
No, nothing like that. Not like the old days.
How can those who want to attend purchase tickets?
There's a number with Jim Stevens. He's actually on the flyer and the poster, and they will be having the general admission gates open there. And as far as I know, there's also box seats available.
Okay, well, Linwood is a bad horse. We want to thank you. Too bad we're dealing with such technical difficulties this week, but when you're in our area, why don't you drop by and let's chat some more?
Sure, you bet.
Okay, Mado.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, have a good day.
Right. Okay, apologies for our technical problems here. He's actually at work in, I believe he said, Nevada, driving a dump truck. So no surprise in what we've got there. Now, we have some information to share to wrap up the show on Expo vaccines. This was an interview that was done earlier this year, so we'll share what we can in the remaining time we have. So hopefully this one won't surprise us.
Sean Terry, Secretary of Health, Mvskoke Creek Nation.
Now, what do we got here today? I understand we're here at the Expo Center, River Spirit Expo Center in Tulsa. We've got quite a line of cars, so what's the tribe doing here today?
So this is a mass vaccination event that we started planning roughly about a month and a half ago. We did a partnership with the Indian Health Service, and this event was going to include representatives from the Claremore Service Unit, from the Pawnee Service Unit, and from the Mvskoke Creek Nation Department of Health. And so the Indian Health Service, of course, helped us locate all of the vaccinations for this event. Our original goal was to try to do 4,000 vaccinations in 2 days here. And so we, right now, we had roughly a little over 2,000 people that enrolled for this event. And we're also accepting walk-ins and people that are just showing up as well. And then we're also vaccinating both native and non-native community members here. So, and this event is pretty nice. It's like a lot of our mass events that we've held in Okmulgee and Coweta and other places, where it's completely drive-through. You don't have to get out of your car. You just roll your window down and you just drive right through.
Now, you mentioned a couple of times this event is open to the community. Is that mean? Are you confident, first of all, that you've taken care of the tribal membership who are interested?
So we believe, Gary, that about 30 to 50% of our population have wanted the vaccine. So our initial doses that we received, of course, was focused on our healthcare workers. And then as we started receiving extra doses from there, we focused on our elder population. And so we pulled a list of all of our elderly folks that were over the age of 65, and we put them in descending order, and we started with the oldest and started working down. And we would make the phone call, we would offer them to come to one of our events, and when we got through the bottom of that list, then we started moving on to the next tier, which was those that were younger than 65, but also those that had multiple health issues, comorbidities, diabetes, heart disease. And so as long as we were able to pull lists and get large groups of people to come through our events, then we were only vaccinating the Department of Health patients, natives. As now we've kind of moved to the bottom of that list and it's getting harder for us to enroll large groups, then we've started opening these mass events up to everyone. But we are also still vaccinating every day in our facilities. We also are taking our mobile units out to the smaller rural communities. We did an event this week at Hanna, and we vaccinated 25 citizens there at the Hanna Community Center as well. So these events are going to be community-type events, but we're also still doing native only at our facilities and our smaller events.
The turnout here looks pretty impressive. You mentioned some numbers. Do you have any feel for how many of them were actually Mvskoke citizens?
I don't. I think probably they were, my best guess is, Gary, that half were probably native. And once again, these are patients that are from the Claremore area and the Pawnee area, not just the Mvskoke Creek Nation. So probably half. But we also, in our original marketing of this event, we had originally were going to market this to natives and their non-native spouses or people in their household. But as we got closer to the event, we didn't have near that 4,000 people registered. That's when we made the decision to open it up to the public.
Well, the event looks like it's really drawing a lot of interest. You've got a lot of cars outside that are parked. But there have been several concerns nationally about distribution, about amount of vaccine available. And some people had some cautions about the healthy effect of it, whether or not it could bring on something else. Have you dealt with those kinds of questions?
We have. Of course, it's always natural to be a little bit nervous when you're receiving a vaccination. I think vaccinations just in general have been controversial for a long time, whether they're positive and what the long-term effects are. So you can't hold it against anyone to being nervous about sticking something in their body. But last year was such a hard year, Gary, that we lost so many tribal citizens, so many loved ones. We also know that this vaccine's the only hope of getting us out of this pandemic. And so far, everything that we've been able to see is that this vaccine is very safe and it's been very effective. We've seen the COVID numbers just drop extremely low since this vaccine's been out over the last 3 months. And so I can't guarantee that there's not going to be any side effects, but we also know this is our only hope.
The program is showing its worth, I think, but I think across the nation and undoubtedly here in Oklahoma, you've got a group of people who don't like the idea. Anti-vaxxers is the term. Have you run across that kind of thing either before, during, or even here today? Sure.
Yeah, we encounter people that have all kinds of feelings about vaccinations, and once again, it's easy to understand. Anytime that want somebody to put medicine in your body, you should ask questions and be cautious. But we've seen what the effects of vaccinations was. It eradicated smallpox, it's eradicated polio. For the most part, it's eradicated measles and chickenpox and all of these types of things. So vaccinations, by and large, we feel are very safe. And I know there's a lot of controversy out there when it comes to people believe that some of these vaccinations has created autism across the country. I don't know that there's anything that's hardcore evidence of exactly what those effects have been, but it's understandable, and everybody has the right to choose what to put in their body. But I just know that no one wants to pass this deadly virus on to a loved one and to a grandmother or someone that is vulnerable. And if you've seen someone suffer with COVID where their breath is taken from their body and they can't get a breath of air, that's devastating to watch. And so I hope that everyone can pull together, get this vaccine so that we can protect our people.
One more question in that direction. I understand from what I've read and heard that most of the arguments from the people who are not comfortable with vaccines have been disproven or discredited. Are you confident that's an accurate assessment?
Well, I think so. Every bit of evidence that we've seen, I think that the science is pretty good. I'm actually very optimistic. I personally like the science behind this vaccine better than I do the old vaccines. This thing is very custom made. This mRNA transmission is some of the really, I'll use the word cool technology that I've seen developed. And we've been watching this mRNA vaccine and the things they've been doing with this technology really ever since the 90s. They started using this type of technology on different cancers. So I think it's exciting, and I know that there's a lot of questions right now about the variants of COVID, and is this vaccine going to protect us from that? So I still think we have a little ways to go, but we're optimistic.
Okay, sir. Any final thoughts there, and we'll get out of your way?
No, I'd just like to thank everyone that is participating this weekend. I'd like to thank Principal Chief Hill for all the support he gives the Department of Health, and whenever we need to pull these big events off, and anything that we can do that's protecting our citizens. Chief Hill's been right here with us to give us the resources that we need. And so between him and Second Chief Beaver, the National Council, they're always so extremely supportive of the Department of Health, and I want to thank them personally, and hope anyone that hears this comes out to get vaccinated.
Let me get your name and where you're from.
My name is Jackie Gilbert, and I'm from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Okay, what is your interest in coming over here to the Expo Center today?
I came over to get my shot due to the fact that I work in the mental health field, and I will be doing face-to-face contact with clients.
So it's kind of a precautionary thing for them and for your own health.
Yes, it is.
Now, the tribe has opened up their facilities and staff and the supply of the vaccine to the community now. It took care of tribal members as it was supposed to, but now pretty much anyone in Tulsa can come by and get a shot. What do you think of that?
It's good. I'm glad now that it is offered to everybody. My daughter probably would have got it, but she's not 16 yet, so.
She'll be there soon enough, and then you'll have your hands full, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The community has pretty much embraced the event from what I can see. Did you have any concerns about taking this vaccine at all? I know some people have nationally and things like that.
I was a little nervous just from all the reviews. I mean, there was mixed reviews, but I decided to go ahead and do it anyway, even with all the negative that I've read.
Have you had your shot yet?
Yes, I'm in the little 15-minute waiting period to make sure there's no reactions. And this was my first dose.
Right, I went through that too in Coweta. The chance to do this has really, I think, made a lot of people feel a little more relaxed or less scared just of getting a vaccine. I mean, the virus. Have you had that same kind of feeling? What was your thought after you'd been injected?
It was still just a little nervous. I mean, I've already had COVID once. Yeah, but it was like asymptomatic, so I didn't have a whole lot of, it was hardly no symptoms at all. My daughter here's had it twice. So, but yeah, like I say, it's just the nerves, just nervous.
Oh, you mentioned some symptoms. What actually affected you there?
I did lose like my taste and smell. And then I had just mild body aches, and that was pretty much it. And I had mild fever, got no higher than 99.
Mm-hmm. Are you a Mvskoke citizen by any chance?
I am actually Cherokee. Don't speak it, though.
Well, you can change that. Now, if you had the chance to tell other people about this experience, what would you tell them?
I just tell them not to be nervous, that, yeah, you know, everybody has nerves at the beginning, but it actually wasn't as bad as what a lot of people make it out to be. And no reactions yet so far.
Okay, thank you. Is there any final thoughts you might have?
No.
I'm Admiral Travis Watts. I'm the Oklahoma City Area Indian Health Service Area Director.
All right, now it's wonderful to see a federal agency down here cooperating and working with the tribe on this project. What are your thoughts? Why is this happening?
Well, today's vaccine process is an incredible success, and the success is due to the Mvskoke Creek Nation, Department of Health, and the Mvskoke Creek Nation tribe partnering and organizing this vaccine event today. They've done a tremendous job in their planning process and able to get vaccine down here too in arms of our beneficiaries and to all the community. And the success has been because of the true partnership and work that we've done in the weeks before this event. Now you're seeing the fruition of the event come to play.
Okay, that was some good news. Recording we had done during the vaccination event at the Expo Center. Last couple of minutes here, we have a couple of quick announcements to share with you.
Tomorrow, April 29th, we're going to be cruising in Teal. It's a car parade. It'll take place at the Claude Cox Omniplex. It's a parade to raise awareness of sexual assault by the Mvskoke Creek Nation Family Violence Prevention Program. That begins at 1 to 3 p.m.
Okay, do you have teal? Do you know where they?
I'm going to try to find some tonight in my clothes.
Okay. And here's a really important reminder. If you've got a graduate from school or a trade school or anything like that, and you want to get it in the June 1st graduate edition, we are calling for your submissions now. The high school, military, technical, and college graduates will be featured in the June 1st edition, and we want to make sure that you make that edition. Please, now the deadline, and don't miss this, is May the 14th at 5 p.m. Late profiles will not be accepted. That being that it takes our layout people some time to put it together and for us to get it to the printers and then back out and distribute the thing. So please, the May the 14th is the deadline. Laney, thanks for coming in. We appreciate you helping out there on the garbled relay racer piece. That sounds like a fun sport. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I think I might go check it out that weekend.
Yeah, once I thought, well, maybe I'll participate, but I thought, no, let's not be stupid. You're too old for that kind of thing. Okay, we want to say, but Mabo Hedge, it's good. You've been listening to Mvskoke Radio. Join us again next week for more local, tribal, and community news and updates. Mado.